Dude, thank you so much for hanging out. Firstly, I want to say also thanks for the John Cena call just then. It's usually it's
Yeah,
usually
for
it's
sure.
usually it's John Candy, but
No, it's both. I guess, and it was more about the "see can't see you" reference.
yeah,
That's the first thing I heard was "you can't see me."
I'm
But
gonna
wait,
go ahead and just I'm
it
gonna
says
assume that you
Nathan
were
on
talking
your
about my
name.
muscles.
It says
Yeah,
Nathan on your name, but it's
yeah,
Johnny, right?
it is correct.
All
Yeah,
right,
so
cool. Okay.
usually it's the two of us. It's usually Nathan
Yeah.
and Johnny.
All
Unfortunately,
right.
Nathan has become very, very sick in the
Yeah.
last day. Dude, I
Yeah.
don't get it.
Send him my
Like,
best.
thank you very much. I will.
Yeah.
But I don't get it, man. He's literally one of the fittest, most masculine,
Mm.
healthy people I know. And the dude is
Yeah.
always sick.
Oh, always. Okay, cool. No, as in I get it. Like, as in I'm also like pretty focused on my fitness and all, but I've had like some like health things here and there, but it's usually something you can figure out pretty quick. So I'm sad to hear that it's a regular thing for him.
Yeah,
Hopefully, we'll be able to sort it out.
hopefully. He's getting some surgery on Monday to hopefully sort it out. It's like a sinus thing. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, that's crazy. My cousin had multiple allergies to the point where it was a military operation to live her life in terms of the food she could eat and couldn't eat and all that. And then she had a sinus operation and all her allergies went away.
yeah,
So that could be life changing for him. I hope it is.
fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed. Well, that's a perfect segue into a couple of the things I wanted to talk about. Number
Yeah.
one being food. Um,
Yeah.
obviously, Tarka was a massive hit amongst people and showed a really different side to you guys as well. Um,
Yeah.
and you compare that to, obviously, you guys are really, really outspoken. You're known for not shying away from sensitive issues and
Yeah.
being exactly who you are and saying it how you want to say it. When you release a song like Tugka, do you ever get concerned that people are always going to expect you or want you to be the political band, that the social justice band, the stick up for the people band, when you release a song like that
So
is?
yeah, we weren't concerned about that like going in. And the one unfortunate correction I have to make is that Tarka wasn't a massive hit. Like it did well, but at the same time it was the slowest of all three songs that we released. And so it's one of those things where we have to like understand and learn from and all. But at the same time, we have no regrets because our expectation for it was for both our supporters as well as other metalheads and then people who don't listen to metal. Just the idea of having an Indian metal track about Indian food, that would be so interesting as a as a thought or something that you hear that you'd want to watch the video. And unfortunately, that's not what happened. So the thing is, for anyone who's watching, that we really want you to push Tarka and enjoy it. If you enjoy the song, then tell someone about it because it really deserves more. But at the same time, even as it is, there are no regrets because what it did, and I think your reaction to it kind of sums it up really well, is because to you it feels like a massive hit and all that, and that's kind of what happened. Instead of it being something that went above and beyond our audience and out there, what it did is it kind of acted as a bonding moment and a cult
Mm,
moment for people who are already supporters of the band. So it's kind of like you have the understanding of who we are as a band and see what we usually do, and then we throw this curveball and have a bunch of fun in the video. So it became a huge moment that way, and to see the comments filled with nothing but love for Indian food and love for people's own food and their own cultures and their own grandmas or mothers, it was beautiful. It was exactly what we wanted, and especially at a time where the internet is full of people trashing Indian street food for the lack of hygiene. It's create or like just a general like the hate for India by extension or whatever. It was like none of that was in the comment section, and that was
yeah.
a big win. Considering that it did go out to a lot of people, and even though it wasn't the fastest song of the three, it was still did pretty well. So to see that the comments are full of nothing but positivity was a really good sign, and like that people enjoyed it for what it was. And when we played live, when we start talking about food, everyone knows what's coming and is ready to go, and it really is a
Oh,
great
dude, I can
live song to
imagine.
perform. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
I can
mosh
imagine.
pits, imagine people moshing over Tarka, like moshing over Indian food. It's beautiful. Those breakdowns are very brutal, like shockingly brutal. It's great.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah, so
like I
that's
said,
that's
it's
the
It's such an
Yeah.
important thing as well, because, you know, like one of the things that really sort of spearheaded you guys was obviously the songs are good first and foremost. So well done on both the albums. We haven't had a
Thank you.
chance to talk to you since we first discovered you. We've been trying to make it happen for a while, but we get it. You're pretty busy. But yeah, I think,
Glad it happened.
you know, one of the things, obviously, like I said, the songs are good. I think the opening the eyes of people to Indian culture in a sonic way through your music. It's important to show those other sides. It's important to see you guys go, hey, look, we want to get a message out. We want to speak about things that are important to us, and we want to make a difference. We want to have fucking banging songs, but also food is a huge part of India, and we're gonna fucking sing about it.
Yeah, no, exactly, man. You summarized that really well, and that was the thinking behind it. Was that, we said that let's have some fun. Like it feels, as in even the track that the discussion was, what do you guys think about a food song? That if we did an Indian metal song about Indian food, and we just laughed thinking about that as a thought. But then when we heard the instrumental, we were a little skeptical because it felt very combative. Like it felt like some war shit about to go down, some huge, like massive war stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm not
Dude,
sure
well,
this like
well, I'm going to tell you, I will fight a motherfucker for a good butter chicken. I'm telling you.
yeah, no, but it's weird how our thinking was more about how the chefs are like soldiers in the trenches, trying to do justice to recipes that have existed for thousands of years. And, there's so much intricacy that goes into the cuisine and all that. So it was cool thinking, like, once we heard it, we couldn't unhear it. You could just see like fire flying into the air and chefs going at it and all that. So that contrast kind of made it both amusing and even more intense for us simultaneously. So we had to do it, and we did it the way we felt it would, like bring out the feeling of the song the most, and we kind of leaned the hues with the. I guess it might not we hope. Maybe it's time to come, like we don't know. That happened to us before, where a song just had off at different points of its lifespan. But so far, it's sorry, one second, I was getting a call. Yeah, but as in so far, as in whatever it's done, right? We're really happy and proud of what's happened because as far as the album's concerned, there's still a lot more to go. So these three songs were the perfect way to set up the
Yeah,
entire life cycle of this album.
for sure. Yes, and like, look, I'm not sure if you've been asked this, okay, but
Please go ahead.
give me your go-to Indian meal that someone just has to try. Now, I know I mentioned butter chicken before, and Nathan calls me a basic bitch because I like the most popular of everything, but butter chicken and a good garlic cheese naan. Oh, man. But give me your go-to. If anyone said summarize Indian food in one meal, what would it be?
Oof, that's a very difficult ask. Honestly, I don't think there's a right answer to that. My personal answer would be the curveball. Like, when you say butter chicken and stuff, I totally understand you. There's a reason it's popular, and there's a reason people enjoy it,
Yeah.
and why it's so symbolic of the cuisine. But I would throw a curveball and just tell you what came to the top of my head. I mean, off the top of my head right now was bengan ka bharta, which is uh, an eggplant, which is fire blasted. Like, it's like they take this eggplant and they put it right on the stove. So there's no pan, nothing. It's just like sitting on the gas, burning up.
Oh
And then
wow.
they saute it and like, uh, you know, uh, I don't know, I don't know what the process is, but then like you saute it and you add like a mixture of spices and seasonings. And the result is something really exceptional. Like if you have eggplant, like a bangan ka bharta with dal and with a roti, which is
Oh yeah.
like the Indian bread.
Yeah.
It's one of those really wholesome signature Indian meals. So, and I think people love it. It's like more like people won't talk about bangan ka bharta, but if you bring it up, everyone will be like, "Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one." So,
All right.
yeah,
Well,
I'd say it's a hidden gem.
I'm gonna see if my local Indian restaurant does it, and I'll get
Yeah,
back to you. I'll get back to you for sure.
yeah, do it, man.
Now, look, before we get back into the band and the music and all the cool things that you guys have done, I do have a difficult question. All right.
Yeah, go for it.
Where's the Australian visit, mate? Like, we love you guys. Where's the love? I know you've been busy, man, but you
So
know.
we have massive love for Australia, and it's one of two places in the world we deeply regret not being able to tour, Australia and Canada. So the Australian reasons has been, the main reason has been tax related. I was just talking about that. I was just asked that question. So you guys have a different tax system or a pretty unique tax system compared to the rest of the world. So that's what I was hearing was the main stumbling block for any tour. It was just the logistics that go into, like, 8 of us traveling from India with our gear in hand, by the way. So we're carrying 400 kilos of gear
Yeah.
with us. Like, when we travel, it's not being shipped. There's no other team moving it. It's literally band members with a suitcase and gear in the other hand. I mean, and something on your back also. Like, sometimes we don't carry backpacks because it needs to be a gear. Like, I carry the screen in a very cool looking black case that looks like a sniper rifle is going to come out uh, come out of it.
Probably
But
not
it's
the
a
best
screen that,
choice.
yeah, exactly. No, I haven't had any trouble for it though. So
Yeah, that's
maybe,
good.
maybe it's work. I mean, it feels like it's working out so far. But it's the screen that goes on our mixer for our live console. So we're very DIY in that sense. So the logistics and the tax situation is what stopped us so far, not our love for the country, because we read every single comment, almost every single, if not every single comment that uh, is on all of our videos. And we see the love from Australia and we feel it. So it's long overdue, and we've been trying since the start to come down there. It's just that has been a big stumbling block and something we can't ignore. But the time is coming, the time is coming where
Oh yeah.
we'll be big enough for even like a tax situation to not matter to us. So it's
Is that
always being worked on. Like, that's why I'll tell you for your peace of mind that we feel the support, we feel the love, we give it right back.
yeah, for sure.
But and that's why tours have been to Australia have been talked about and in the works every year, literally every year since we started. After
It's
the 2019 tour, yeah, so
yeah, it must
six
be one
years.
of those. It must be
It
one of
was just
those
that,
things that like you
yeah,
guys have really had to, because the rise of the band, especially in the Western world and Europe and all that sort of stuff, has been quite quick. It must have been
yeah,
like a massive learning curve for you guys to have to sort of navigate through all that stuff and quickly
yeah,
learn things that you didn't know about, and hurdles that you would have never been able to foresee, just
yeah. No,
because
for sure.
music has just hit so many people so hard, which is a great thing.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, for sure. And I think it's weird. It's part of the Indian, preparedness and wanting to just like the grind culture that exists here that we prepare for all possibilities, and even then we're caught off guard. But
Yeah,
luckily, all our preparation and all the work we put into each tour before we go out there, because like I said, like we signed to a label and all that stuff, but we still have a very DIY approach when it comes to a lot of things. So all of it is in our hands. Like, we're looking at tours and looking at, like, how we get from one city to another and what we
yeah,
do and all that. And now luckily we have teams that take care of more of the day-to-day stuff, but we're still overseeing the whole thing, and like I said, we're carrying our gear on our backs every time we go. And I think the other thing about Australia is that your cities are far apart, so you have to like
yeah.
travel with each you have to fly to each city. So these things have been like stumbling blocks, which, like, the only things which have like prevented us from coming, not because we don't want to be down there. It's funny, like, on a personal note, I had the biggest realization where I was like, why is Australia not up there on my list of places to go? Like, why hasn't it been there on my mind? Like, I have things in my mind. I have like, oh, I would definitely want to go to Brazil and play some football and watch some football.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to Japan, want to go to Africa and, see like animals in their natural habitat and all of that. But I'd never thought of Australia. And I was like, why the fuck not? Like, I love Australia. Like, personally, I love Steve Irwin was my hero growing up. Like, I was
Yeah.
like, fuck, I want to swim with alligators and boop their noses and do all that crazy shit. Like, I felt bad. I don't know. I think I probably cried when he died. But, like,
We
Steve
all
Irwin was
did.
my hero. And yeah, and like the Aussie vibe in general, like, I'm all for it. So I had this realization, it was kind of like a shattering realization where I was like, how is it not up there on my list?
Yeah.
So both from a personal point of view and a band point of view, it's always been on the cards.
Well, dude,
Australia. It's like we're dying to come, and we're getting to the point where we're big enough for these things not to matter. Like, fine,
Yeah.
like the taxes are complicated. Fine, like we have to like fly from city to city. There will, and that point is coming soon where it's not going to matter, and we'll finally make this tour happen. And for both Australia and Canada, it feels like it's the wait has been so long that we're gonna play twice as hard when
Oh
we're
yeah.
there. You know,
Look,
so
if I can give you any advice, you are 100% right about the way our touring is generally set up, and the distance between one side of the country to the other is fucking nuts as well,
yeah,
man. It's like
yeah,
a 4 or 5 hour flight over to Perth.
yeah.
So a lot of bands only really have it's only really cost effective and time effective for them to do the East
Mm.
Coast. So they hit like Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, maybe Adelaide, and then maybe over to
Okay.
Auckland or something like that. But we were just talking to Malevolence, the band from the UK, the other day when they were supporting Alpha Wolf, and they were stoked
Yeah.
because they were lucky enough to get on a regional run, and not many international bands do the regional runs. So even though they
Okay.
weren't doing the big cities and the bigger venues on this
Yeah.
Australian tour, they got to see so much more of the country because they're going to places that generally don't get international bands, which is a really cool thing. And
Awesome.
they were sort of saying as well, they were like, it's weird that all international bands don't do this in Australia. It's weird that they come in, do the 3 shows, maybe 4th or 5th if they can, and then go home. When if you're doing UK, Europe, America, you are doing that drive from city to city to city, and you're doing like
Yeah.
20, 30
Yeah.
dates. So,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you guys will get a chance to do both. But I will say my advice is to give yourself a day off between if you can to actually enjoy the country. And if you end up coming out for a festival run and it's 3 quick days in the major cities, then give
Yeah.
yourself a couple of days before and after because, yeah, I just know you're going to love it, dude.
Yeah, no, of course. I can't wait to be swimming and like bump into a great white shark. Like looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, maybe
No,
not
but
that one, but
yeah, no, jokes aside, that's something I think about when I'm swimming over there because I'm just like, I loved sharks as well growing up. Like, it was like Steve Irwin for the crocodiles and the snakes and all that, but definitely like sharks as well. So, no, I mean, I'm half kidding when I say that. Like, I'm looking forward to being there. And usually, honestly, when you're on a run on tour, we've had to learn the hard way that it's important to prioritize rest. At least for
yeah,
me personally, like I'd rarely go out and explore in the middle of the tour. For me, it's always about resting enough to go out like at 100% and beyond 100 on some days when I'm playing those shows. So I don't like leaving that room for doubt in my mind that, oh, I spent this day chilling and like walking around and exploring.
yeah,
And so the show was compromised. So it's kind of intense, but I have no regrets. It's who I am and what I do. Some of the boys though will go all out and explore the like, wherever we are, go to amusement parks and do all that. It's just personally
yeah,
speaking, in when I'm on tour, it's about the tour. I
good
rarely
work.
go and explore, but then I do go back to the places that I love or that that I've really connected with. And Australia, even without like the music side of it, I'd already like have so much love for the country, which kind of was just like in my subconscious for multiple years. I don't even know why,
Yeah,
but yeah, like as in it's on my list, man. And even for the band, it's a very big priority to come down to Australia and finally make this happen. And I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm just telling you that it's going to be everything when we go there. Like I don't know if it'll be like the small cities and stuff. I don't know how it's going to match up, but we'll do our best to make sure it's a massive fucking tour, like that we do justice to the time that it's taken to come down there.
hell
And
yeah.
if not a lot of dates, it's going to be power pack shows that everyone should come to. So
Well, man,
we're gonna make it happen.
I think that you guys will be pleasantly surprised with the energy that Australians give back. And look, it's quite easy for me to sit here and sound biased, but we spend a lot of time with bands that we've met through this, and a lot of the international bands say, like, yeah, we love Australia. We genuinely love it as one of our favorite places to go because the crowd is just so into it. They're just really living in that moment. I think one of the things is because we're so fucking far away, dude. Like, it
Yeah,
takes so fucking long to get here, and you're on a
yeah,
plane. with people farting and coughing and crying babies for like a whole day. But then,
Yeah.
you know, like, so we know that you've had to make that journey. So when you
Yeah.
get here, we're giving it back as hard as we can.
Man, I'm even more excited to hear that. And at the same time, I have no doubt, like, as in Australia's reputation precedes itself for a reason, that even on a personal note, like personal side, musical side, everything aligns in terms of it being a place we want to go and tour. So we are doing our absolute best to make it happen. And
Hell
you
yeah.
guys will be the first to know. Like, we'll blast it out there when we say Australia tour.
Hey, so talking about the personal side of things, you mentioned before that you're quite regimented and quite militant in how you approach tour and stuff like that. And you also
Yeah.
mentioned you like to keep fit. What has
Yeah.
that been like as the band has got quite big, quite quick, and the schedule gets intense? How have you managed that yourself, in keeping on top of those things that you know you need to feel your best?
So one of the things that I make sure I do is like train for the tour. Like, like there'll be a different workout I'll follow. I mean, it's similar enough to my regular workout, but I'll train for more explosive energy before the tour. And on my first tour, I realized that I was working out after shows on days off and stuff. And I was realizing like the same thing as exploring, right? It compromises on the show energy itself. Like even if you have some left in the tank, I'd
Yeah.
rather like, I mean, save that for the next show and try and just like max it out on stage. And one beautiful thing I learned though was that your body doesn't let you down. Like your hard work, which you've put in, it's like when you think about it, you're touring for a month. And if
Mm.
your thought is that, okay, I'm not gonna train apart from playing these shows, then it's kind of daunting because you're like, damn, like that's like 1 month of not working out. But from the very first two, I found out that your body doesn't let you down and your hard work doesn't let you down. That
Yeah.
whatever stage you reach before, um, like it really carries you through. Plus, the shows themselves are no joke. Like we've tried measuring how much we burn like while we're playing and all that, and it's close to conservatively like 600 to 800 calories like on the like in the show itself, and it feels
Yeah.
like way more because it's like we could fill buckets with the amount of sweat that comes off our bodies by the end of it, so
Yeah.
it's no walk in the park. Like you are smashing it like every night, 5 days in a row, like taking one day off, doing it for three more.
Yeah.
Like I'd say our most brutal schedule was 23 shows in 28 days. I think that's 5 days
Wow.
off in a month, and you're just going hard 23 shows. And whatever you like, whatever I saved by not exercising after shows or before, it's like I just put into the stage, and that way I can have my peace of mind and just max it out. So yeah, like as in it's a lifestyle thing, and I mean, I think it applies to quite a few other band members. Like, not everyone's into working out, everyone kind of respects it for what it is. And what we'll
Yeah.
do is, before we go out on tour, we'll have what we call stationary practice, where we're just learning the songs and or relearning songs, which is shockingly easy also. Though that's when we always left like a big amount of time to redo it, but then we realize when you've done it a few hundred times, it just
Yeah.
comes back to you in no time. But we have stationary practice and then we have movement practice, which is where you kind of have to learn how to play while you're moving. So we'll move in this hilarious room. Okay, it's like cream and orange, like wall padding with all of us like in chill regular clothes slamming it like we would on stage. It's on our like YouTube. People have seen this wall before and been like, what the fuck is this place? And we ask ourselves the same, but it's one of the best places in Delhi to practice. But yeah, so like we do have movement practice, so we're kind of like getting into gear before each show. We practice for at
Yeah.
least like a couple of months right now because we're in between tours. We're giving it a couple of weeks, so it's good. Like we do train and like prepare for stage and to make sure it happens. And like I said, for me per se, at this time I'm kind of I came off the back of an injury recently, so it's kind of like stopped me from training at maximum capacity. But
Yeah. Yeah.
now I'm back to full strength, and it's right before the tour, so I have to. I'm considering training like after shows now using resistance bands and stuff.
Oh
So
wow.
I'll figure it out. Like, I'll find out what it holds for me, because like I said, I'd like to always save everything I can from stage.
Yeah, for sure. Because
I mean, for stage.
you also got to do what's best, for your body at the time. Sometimes your body's just going to say, "Dude, I need to rest today. I need to
Yeah.
not do this tonight."
Yeah, that's been a big learning thing for me, in the sense where, I mean, I've known it for a while now, but as someone, I mean, like, I realized that it's important to rest for your own development as well. That applies to work as well as, like, your athleticism. And I feel that the better I train, like, the more my mind is in sync with my body. Like, I want
Yeah.
them to be in the same place. So I'm not close to where I want to be. Like, I have bigger goals and I'm working towards them. So when I get there, I feel like it'll unlock something more in me musically as well. And I've seen that. I've seen that at each stage of my progress. Um, I tap into my, musical abilities even more, just
Yeah.
because I've pushed my body to a certain place, and that requires mental as well as physical discipline. I don't think that applies to everybody. Like, maybe it does. I'm not sure, but because I don't want to be saying that, oh yeah, you have to train to make sure you maximize, your own skills and talents. Everyone
Yeah.
has their own thing. The one, like, undeniable fact is that exercise just helps enhance your life in the
Oh,
most basic sense.
100%.
Mine, yeah, as in, for everyone, I would say that it is very important, but for me, it goes beyond that. It's a thing where, by training, I can reach a higher level both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
And that the physicality of the performance also is something, as a result, which I really enjoy. Like, I see myself doing stuff on stage and being able to move and doing stuff as a result of my training, and it's very rewarding.
Does that help you like, because you've already got your body in shape for, and you guys are well rehearsed, obviously, does that help you knowing that you don't need to worry about your fitness or your mental state and getting through a set, which I'm sure have got longer now as you guys have gotten bigger? Does that help you tap into the live performance more and really get the performative side of the songs and the lyrics across to people?
Yeah, as in, that's such an interesting question, actually, because the thing is, what it's done for me, though, as in, for again, I don't think I can talk for everyone, though, because everyone has their own experience. I'd say the one common factor we have is that, regardless of your physical or mental state before the show, like, when we play, like, especially to our own audience, um, it's the kind of energy where you forget about everything and you're just there to fucking play, like,
Yeah.
as in,
Yeah.
and it takes you to a level, it makes your, it's like a senzu bean, a Dragon Ball Z reference, whatever, like, your health bar goes all the way up, even if it's a little low, like, towards the end of the tour. Nothing
Yeah.
else matters. Like, when you're playing those shows, I played with a damaged ankle ligament also. Like, I mean, I'd rested it, but it wasn't up to like full capacity, and I'm jumping on stage, as in, and that sounds irresponsible, but in the way where I did it, in a way where I still kind of, like, uh, as conservatively as possible, but
Yeah,
to the
if
point
you're
where it wasn't
conscious
a
about
factor.
it, yeah, if you're
Yeah.
conscious about it, you can kind of work around it.
Yeah, like
I found
landing
it.
on my other foot fast. I mean, first, instead of that, like, but in a way that's not obvious. But the point is, like, my point is that the audience brings a kind of energy you can't practice for. Like, it takes
Oh
your
yeah,
energy and the energy of the room. It's like you can be at 100 having practiced perfectly, but the
yeah,
audience is what pushes you to 150 or 200. And there are nights like that which are extremely special. And Tokyo was one of those nights. Like, when I look back on it, it was a huge night, and it felt like beyond 100, like, those, one of those nights. So uh,
is that always like a shock to you guys when obviously like culturally India is so different to say the Western world or Europe, but then you've got like countries like Japan are even sort of further removed culturally from the Western world, and obviously I'm
yeah,
bringing it up
from
because
any world,
that's
Japan has its own thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so when you go there and you get that reception, is it a shock?
Yeah, and then it was a shock, and then when you think about it, you're like, wow, it is kind of always meant to be, because of how deeply influenced we are by Japanese culture, particularly anime.
Okay.
That,
Yeah,
like,
okay, cool.
it's a big part of what we do, and, like, the desire to help and, like, leave a positive impact on the world. Like, that's very anime inspired. Like, Dragon Ball Z, growing up, like, their
Yeah.
job was like, they had everyday lives, but they did exceptional things and wanted to protect the earth and make sure that everyone was good. Like same thing with most animes. It's always like, especially the shonen ones. It's about that. It's about someone trying their hardest to help other people and reach the best of their abilities as a result. So we're heavily inspired by them. We couldn't believe what was happening when we played there for the first time. It was Fuji Rock, and it was a event that's as big online as it is offline. We didn't know about the online part, and
Oh wow.
offline we saw people just coming. Like there was already like a few thousand people waiting for us, but by the end of it, was close to like 12,000. 10 to 12,000 people, and
That's so cool,
the
man.
rest of people were just people who'd heard us
Yeah.
playing that day, like in the moment, and just walked over and joined the crowd. And simultaneously, we were trending on Japanese Twitter, like as in it was just insane because people were watching the event online and being like, "Yo, check this band out!" And like I think we were number 5 on Japanese Twitter or some
Oh,
crazy
that's
shit
so
like that.
sick.
And we got off stage, and the thing is, we felt that because when we enjoyed the festival so much, we asked to stay on and just explore. Except people just kept stopping us and taking photos, and in the nicest, politest way possible. But we're like, okay, cool, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and because the enthusiasm came from people who'd seen us for the first time and were like, oh, it's those guys, and like wanted to meet us. And that's where it all started with Japan. Like since then, it's been an epic love story. Like we went out of our way to come back to Japan to end our last run. We included it. I mean, we started with it now after Europe. It was our
Yeah, so
second, tour there, and it was great. So yeah, it is a shock, but you can see why it works as well
why
when
it
you look at the
works.
bigger
Yeah.
picture.
That's cool. Hey, so you mentioned before about learning personal lessons, and obviously we've got to, I guess, kind of wrap up soon. They'll tell us when we need to get off. Yeah, so you mentioned before about personal lessons that you've learned along the way. What do you think, like with some of the subject matter that you guys sing about and talk about, which is obviously like from a perspective of a everyday person, you're like, yeah, they're sending out good messages. They're standing up for people. They're standing up for what they believe in. And obviously, I'm not super well versed in how that goes down in your country. With all of that, and then songs about food, and then a fast growth and traveling all over the world, what do you think is the biggest lesson that you guys have learned as a band in these last 2 albums and this quick rise?
Oof, that's a tough one, man. That's a really tough one. There's nothing, no singular lesson came to my mind when you said that. I'll have to dig deep and think about that one. But okay, fine. The one that did come to my mind, but I wanted to filter it out because it's too kind of basic. But fuck it, I'm just gonna own it. Is that your dreams are worth chasing? That that this
Oh yeah.
shit sounded crazy, and like the idea of like using the internet to go viral because there was no metal scene in India, and then us getting an invitation to play at Wacken Open Air, one of the biggest metal festivals, if not the biggest, based on 3 singles and no original music, to come and play on their stage, and then trying to play like an experienced band despite having never played together live, and training our asses off and practicing our asses off for the summer to make that happen, achieving that, selling out every show of that first tour, and putting on a crazy performance at the end of it at walk-in to a maximum capacity tent because the hype we generated resulted in that, catapulting us into making our first album despite or making the most of COVID, or having the privilege of being
Yeah.
unaffected by it, and making our album during that time, and coming back like from that, off the back of our album, touring, having our own viral moments. It's a lot to take in, but it's also that it's this the bottom line is that your dreams are worth chasing. I guess from my personal perspective, it was a goal. Like I approached music and was thinking about it because I was someone who'd never done music. Like, I'd never been part of any
Oh
school
wow.
like stuff. I'd never been part of any bands. I'd never performed live. Nothing. Like for me, it was something I realized I wanted to do later on in life, like towards, I think I was 18 or 19 at the time. And having
Yeah.
been
Okay.
around music a lot, listened to music, but never really performed it, been in bands, been in the scene, nothing of that sort. So my goal when I decided to do it was that this has to go 0 to 100, and it has to stay at 100.
Yeah.
So I visualized this, and I planned for this and worked for this. So again, meeting the band and everyone, like it, I feel incredibly lucky as well. Apart from like the hard work I put in. So for all of us as band members, it's a different experience. It's some of us hoped, some of us expected, um some of us didn't know what to do, but like would try our best, like like everyone has their own version of it, but we all had a dream, you know and we've
So
all
good, man.
made it come true right now. And it's also the longest shot ever. It's Indian metal in a
Yeah.
country that has no metal scene. Like, to be where we are now is impossible. And this, regardless of whether someone always planned for it to happen or someone hoped it would happen, the fact is it happened. So we want that to inspire anyone, because for me, and I'm going to go out on a huge tangent over there, as someone who likes football a lot. Leicester City winning the Premier League, I won't compare this to that, because again, it's hard to compare. That was just some crazy shit. But events which don't relate to your life, but when you see impossible things happening, anyone can take inspiration from that, and that's what we hope people do with our story. And
For
the
sure.
other thing I would like to add, which I don't think should be left out, is the mission that we're on. Like, we do want to create a positive impact. We don't want to just, we are talking about the issues that, that we talk about in the songs that need to be spoken about, but we're doing it with the view of changing the younger generation's perspective, especially people who, are just understanding who they are or understanding the world. If you
Yeah.
heard it coming from your favorite musician or a musician you admired, it's bound to hit home more. So,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
apart from that, it's about gathering and bringing together people who feel the same way that we do, into one force. So the bigger we go and the bigger we get, and the more, like,
The
fame
more
and
positivity
power
there
and
is. Yeah, yeah.
whatever. No, not just positivity. It's also the bigger we get, like the what that enables us to do. Our position as the band that we will eventually become. Um, that's what, when the real stuff starts. Like, that's when we can actually start doing things to make a difference in the world.
Yeah. Well, dude,
So
I think
those two things.
honestly, you guys are already making a difference. Discussions
Thank you, man. Yeah.
and you know, awareness is how things change. So you
Yeah.
guys are already doing that. Look, I could go. We'll have to do this again. We'll have to get you guys on for a longer form discussion, because you
Yeah.
mentioned football, and as an Arsenal supporter, I'd love to talk for an hour about football, but I got to let you get going because you've got more press to do, I'm sure. But look, we're huge fans. We can't wait to see you in Australia. Thanks so much for giving us some of your time, and
My
of course,
pleasure, man.
massive congratulations on the success. You guys are doing massive things for metal, and especially for India. And yeah, it's just been a pleasure to chat to you, dude.
Likewise. And thank you for asking some of those questions. It was, sometimes we're answering the same thing again and again, but you threw some curveballs, which I really enjoyed answering and thinking about. So, and actually,
Very
the
good.
reason we're cutting this interview short is so I can go to the gym. So it's still an equally good reason.
Yeah, I'll work out your mind. All right,
Sounds good,
dude.
man.
Well, thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again.
Yeah, we will.
Take care, dude.